Today's subject is our first Schlocktober feature from the great nation of Mexico. So first things first, to my many Latino viewers, lo siento de antemano, mi pronunciación española no es muy bueno. Second thing, it's our sole black and white movie this year, so let's get some more direct contrast in the decor. Spiffy. Alright, let's get into La Nave de los Monstruos. La Nave de los Monstruos, or The Ship of Monsters, was one of the most popular science fiction films produced at the very tail end of what's known as the Golden Age of Mexican cinema, a period from roughly 1936 to 1959 where the nation's film industry was not simply thriving but effectively dominating the entirety of Latin American and Spanish-speaking movie culture. It's also completely and utterly loco. Let's be clear, Mexican B-horror movies of this era are often prized by American film geeks for their tendency to play fast and loose with the strictures of categorization. Just because a Mexican genre picture says it's one thing doesn't mean that robots, mummies, superheroes, vampires, or professional wrestlers aren't going to show up just because. Case in point, The Ship of Monsters is a science fiction, horror, monster, romance, comedy, musical, western. And that's just the beginning.
Ay, manito. Qué feo te hicieron, parece que te hicieron con lacha.
Our premise is that the planet Venus has been imperiled with extinction following the death of the last living Venusian man. From the looks of the Venusian women in the film, I'm gonna assume the cause of death was happily and from exhaustion. Anyway, the Venusian High Regent dispatches a pair of astronauts named Gamma and Beta, played by Ana Bertolopé and Lorena Velasquez, on a mission to travel the galaxy collecting male specimens of various alien species to bring back home and, I guess, figure out who or what might be biologically compatible. I mean, I guess somebody had to do the legwork on that one. After all, this is information James T. Kirk is really going to need someday. In any case, the collection of alien males gathered up and frozen by Gamma, Beta, and their simply delightful-looking robot, Tor, are the monsters of the title, which should perhaps more accurately have read, The Ship of Monsters Whom We Have Kidnapped for Sex. The lineup includes a Cyclops, a giant tarantula, a Saucer Man-style Martian, and a talking skeleton. And because this movie is just packed, they've all even got their own backstories.
Tawan, príncipe de Marte, no te perdonaré jamás. Yo, Hook, yo, rey planeta fuego, yo libre, yo hombre nane. Oh, Utir, gran sacerdote del planeta rojo, he de destrozar tus entrañas a la luz de Utari y sus 7 lunas. Casa perdió la materia, pero seguimos vivos a pesar de nuestro aspecto. Y nuestro poder es terrible.
But the mission is complicated when a malfunctioning engine forces the spaceship to make an emergency landing on Earth in the small town of Chihuahua, Mexico, where the ladies head out to explore and stumble upon our hero for the piece, Lalo Gonzalez as Laureano, a bumbling singing cowboy and rancher prone to tall tales who's surprisingly willing to accept that Miss Mexico 1953, Miss Mexico 1960, and their pet robot have simply wandered away from a passing circus. Also, Mexican movies in 1960 much more forward about certain subjects than Hollywood movies of the same era.
¿Usted es soltera, casada o qué? No me vaya a decir que eso qué.
Soltera?
You see, that wouldn't have been asked about out loud in the Martin and Lewis version of this same movie. Anyway, the ladies at first want to abduct Laureano as part of their men's stable, but they start questioning the mission and getting jealous over him when he introduces the pair to a strange human concept called love.
Y para eso necesitan ir con un señor que les dé permiso.
Pues se puede hacer sin permiso, nomás que no está muy bien visto en estas regiones.
Speaking of which, Tor falls in love himself with Laureano's jukebox.
Ay, mamacita, qué lindos bulbos tienes.
Sure, why not? It also turns out that Beta has been keeping a secret of her own. She's a vampire.
¡No! ¡Beta! ¡No lo hagas, Beta!
You guys, this is a really good movie. Okay, so Beta is actually an evil interloper from Uranus, the planet of shadows, and she takes this opportunity to free the monsters, seduces their nominal leader, and unleashes the others to conquer Mexico in her name. If they can stop fighting over her first.
Y me siento orgulloso de estar a tu lado.
Incidentally, Mystery Science Theater fans may recognize Lorena Velasquez as the vampire queen from Samson Against the Vampire Women. No beauty of the Mexican screen ever looked better in fangs. In any case, it's up to Laureano, his younger brother Ruperto, and Tor to defeat Beta, rescue Gamma, destroy the rampaging monsters, and save the world.
¡Cuidado, Gavita! ¡Se caen estos pilotones!
Ultimately, Gamma elects to remain on Earth with Laureano, sending Tor and the jukebox blasting off to bring the human invention of love back to Venus, because how can you not love a movie that ends like this? La Nave de los Monstruos was a big hit in Mexico, widely distributed throughout second-run theaters across the country well into the 70s, and still popular among Mexican monster movie aficionados to this day, with no less than Guillermo del Toro himself sharing his appreciation on social media this very year. So why doesn't it have a higher profile stateside? Well, one reason might be that it didn't feel Mexican enough. Foreign film appreciation in the United States has a bad habit of regarding the national cinemas of other territories through a prism of stuff we just can't get here, cultural fetishism, i.e. largely ignoring Japanese movies if they don't feature samurai, kaiju, or underage schoolgirls being menaced by octopi. And since Ship of Monsters doesn't prominently feature crime-fighting luchadors, Aztec-themed monsters, or other elements thought of as Mexican genre movie staples by many Western fans, it may indeed have been overlooked.
Ahorita vengo. En este planeta el hombre es el que da la cara.
But it's probably more a case of translation problems. Eulalio Gonzalez Ramirez, also known as Piporo, was a huge film, television, and recording star in Mexico at the time, and a lot of the film's screen space is given over to scenes built around his singing and his Groucho Marx-style rapid-fire verbal comedy, both of which are difficult to translate properly via English dubbing.
Yo le pido que me dé un cariño santo, que me quite de andar por el sendero, a lomos de un caballo, buscando pero no hallo a quien dar mi sentimiento.
Vete a la arboleda grande, al lora el sol sale, nomás al quer infestado. ¡Infestado de dinosaurios! Bueno, dinosaurio chico, cierta se da al pobre animal si hay poco pasto, pero eso sí, dinosaurio fino, sin hueso y con una pluma primorosa.
Decimos al señor cura que nos vamos a casar y nos da su bendición.
Ah, les recomiendo una cosa, que no se van a portar mal porque les pica un animal. Y ya.
¿Y luego?
As a result, the film is criminally underseen in the US, and the only official release was part of a Lionsgate Mexican cinema collection so specifically targeted to Latino audiences that they didn't even bother to include English subtitles. But unofficial fan subs are out there and are absolutely worth tracking down, because Ship of Monsters is a total undiscovered blast that deserves a much, much bigger fan base.
Raza de vampiros, habitantes de las sombras, uranitas, por fin será nuestra la sangre de la tierra.
Okay, one more to go, folks. Next week is Halloween and our final installment for the year. What's it gonna be? Tune in and find out.